the situation continues for us to be, our preoccupation continues to be with the plight of civilians caught up in conflict, the absence of protection as prescribed in international law for those civilians, and their humanitarian plight as a consequence, and also the impact on the human development of the population that are in Gaza. We're also, of course, concerned for the plight of those within rocket range in Israel. They are also civilians who are caught up and the victims of this conflict, and they continue also to suffer the consequences of the failures to resolve this conflict on a daily basis. So there are two populations here that are the victims and that are suffering very serious and significant consequences because of the failures. We, of course, in Gaza are working now to mitigate the worst impacts because we can't restore people to a dignified existence unless we can get the access issues resolved, and they continue to be the principal issue upon which we wish to focus. It's also a matter of legality, the access for humanitarian supplies, again for civilians who are caught up in conflict. It's wholly and totally inadequate. It's having a very devastating impact on the physical circumstances and also the mindsets of the people on the ground. People are, as you might imagine, grieving the loss of so many innocent lives, the injury of so many others, and also the destruction that has occurred. And yet, months later, we're still faced with the same inadequate access, even though the needs have grown significantly. And with that, of course, we really need to realize that until we and unless we can get the humanitarian assistance in an unfettered way, we can't even begin the process of recovery and reconstruction. So the first step is to get the access that is needed in terms of the humanitarian food, medicine, and other vital household supplies, be it clothes, be it blankets, mattresses, and all the items that people need just to survive. But we shouldn't content ourselves with mere survival because, again, it's not just about keeping people alive, it's about giving them a life, giving them a reason to live. And that's why, of course, we also need to be preoccupied with the damage that this last round of conflict has caused to mindsets. And that then comes back to the whole issue of the protections. Protection is not an abstract issue. The rule of law is not an abstract ideal for people caught up in this conflict on either side. It's a matter of life and death. If it's not upheld, then innocent people, including children, are dying. And that's what we need to realize and mobilize around the whole question of how to restore the rule of law to the primacy of its role as it should define all action. Neither side should be allowed to claim that the illegal acts of their opponent legalizes an illegal act in response. And that goes in terms of sanctions that are collective in their nature in response to illegal rocket firing, and equally on the other side, those who fire the rockets cannot find any justification for doing so, irrespective of their claim that regarding the illegality of the sanctions that are imposed, or all of the other military responses that flow from that in response to those rocket fires. So that's what we continue to appeal for a restoration of the primacy of the rule of law. We continue to emphasize that without it there are dire consequences. There are dire consequences right now in terms of the living conditions, the living circumstances of the people on the ground. And what we want to do is we want to create a realistic and real basis for hope that things will move forward. We've had of course, a challenge because in this conflict it is very politicized in terms of information as well, and getting the truth out, getting the facts out is definitely a challenge. In that respect, we want to encourage as many as possible who make decisions, policy makers, politicians, people of influence, to come and witness. Seeing is believing. don't just come to the Palestinian side, go to the Israeli side. If you're in fact, if you're a friend of Palestine, go and visit the Israeli civilians who are living within rocket range with an open mind and gain an understanding of the urgent necessity to end the violence that's being perpetrated against them. And equally, if you're a friend of Israel, come and visit Gaza and see and experience what is the reality of the situation. What those who have come to Gaza have seen that you will not see on the TV screens is they have seen the people themselves. They've been able to interact with the people, and that's of course very important, because then in that interaction you gain an understanding of what is in the minds of the people. This cannot be conveyed through images. You have to engage, and I can tell you that what it does prove when you engage with the people of Gaza today is that, notwithstanding their circumstances today and also what they have experienced in the recent past and what they have been living with for so long now, they continue to be rational people in the majority. They continue to be minded towards civilized responses and also are appealing for the help and protection that is enshrined in all of these fine documents that have been, again, there for very good reason, but don't seem to be upheld for them in their current predicament. And again, this is the engagement that so many senior politicians have had when they've come. They've met people standing in the rubble of their former lives, grieving the loss of family members, and yet they're communicating in a rational, reasoned way. Not in the first instance seeking vengeance, revenge. None that I have experienced in any of those briefings have been calling for violent retaliation or retribution. They have been calling for protection. They've been calling for accountability because they're concerned not just for what has happened, but what is coming next. And this is the core of the necessity for accountability. It's that without it, there is absolutely no guarantee that there won't be a further reoccurrence. And this is what mothers and fathers in Gaza are in the first instance preoccupied with at the moment, which is how can we be sure that we are safe going forward? And there is no assurance if there's no accountability. So it's accountability in the first instance for that purpose, which is to comfort people. Because remember, the rhetoric of the extremists is, you can forget about the rule of law, it won't apply, and that's their argument for pursuing violence. We cannot allow that argument to prevail. We must be able to point to the reality, to a realistic expectation that the rule of law will be upheld and the protections that are prescribed in that for civilians in conflict will be upheld, and of course the confidence will grow from the accountability that flows from actions that have already occurred. So again, this is for us very, very important that as many people come and see for themselves and engage and interact and realise that we do have a good and decent people there who are by law entitled to protection, and the consequence of upholding the law will actually be a positive dividend, not just in their human existence and in the perspective of a better future, but also it will actually be a positive dividend into the wider process as well. So again, thank you for the opportunity to brief you this morning, and I'm happy to take questions.